It's my perspective. Yeah, from my perspective. It's my perspective. Yeah, yo, am I wrong or is it just you? Or did my life show me some things that gave me my view? And if I went through what you went through, would I be you? I don't know. That's too many questions with no answer, but plenty chances for many lessons. Am I willing to learn that it's all perception? That the picture that I paint ain't the one that you sketching? So can we disagree without drawing a weapon? Long as I can understand that it's just your perspective. Yeah, it's my perspective. Yeah, from my perspective. Good evening, what's up, y'all? Welcome to this week's episode of My Perspective. We got a good topic for y'all tonight, but before we jump into it, of course, we gotta meet the crew.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Isaiah.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Tila.
And I'm your host, Farad. Tonight, y'all, we want to talk about that fine line between abuse and discipline. And I'm glad that we got the particular crew we got up here tonight, because we got two parents and myself and Tila. We got two teenagers who probably still getting disciplined. And we got Isaiah, who's somewhere between all of us. Where are you standing there, Isaiah?
Well, I stand in that is first my experience. And in my experience, when it comes to borderline abuse, I believe that it is a such thing as borderline abuse. For me growing up, my experience is that my mom used to, forgive me, Mom, but
she gonna get him again.
Yes, you know what I'm saying? She waiting on him.
But I used to get beat with extension cords. I used to get beat with irons, and I can just go down the line.
Iron, like a clothes?
Yes, oh yes,
like the actual part you use?
Yes,
oh,
yes.
Not the cord.
Not the cord. The iron. I can keep going drumsticks, like when you play drums, yes. And so I feel like there is a borderline when it comes to abuse, because I feel like there should be a cutoff point. You know?
So is it the weapon of choice? Is that what? And I don't mean to make this comical, but that's what you mentioned a lot of.
Yeah, weapons.
All right, the weapon.
Weapons.
Man, abuse starts when you start verbally abusing your child.
Absolutely, abuse could be verbal. Absolutely.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
calling them names, or just verbally downgrading your child. That is abuse as well.
I think I agree 1,000,000%. Honestly, that's the only place my mom went when this topic came up, man. I've been beat, like you said, with some things that, you probably shouldn't use, but I never felt abused, man. I probably deserve 100% of the ones I got.
Deserved?
Mean,
Wow.
man, just mean for no reason,
What were you doing?
Just mean. Like anything you can consider mean, that's what I was doing. I wasn't bad, just mean. It was like 9 of us in the house. I'm like a hermit crab. I like my space. I ain't had no space. And so it was like, I don't even push y'all, don't beat me, man. But that's what,
Were you the only boy in the house?
No, it was a bunch of us. It was probably 6 boys, only like 3 girls in the house.
Was it a difference in how they disciplined the girls compared to boys?
I don't even remember the girls getting touched.
Oh, so you might have got part of it from them.
Well, my mom, she had myself and then my brothers and my sister, but my sister didn't get it as worse than the boys. And that's because of the way that she raised us. You know, the boys, it was hard. Like,
Was your sister the youngest?
yes, she was.
Okay. Okay. I remember growing up, like you said, extension cords. My dad had a paddle. Like when you cross over the line frat paddle, that he would hit us in our hands, our butts, anywhere. I was like, what's going on? So because I was in the middle, but my older siblings were a little more immature than I was always stepping in to get the beatings for them. So I got it all.
So you ain't get abused, you was like a sacrifice.
Right.
So I got it all. So when we talk about discipline and abuse, I'm like, I was abused.
So you did feel abused. Let me hear what you think.
Well, I mean, I would not say that I've ever been abused. My discipline's a little different than what you guys had. My discipline's like, oh, go to your room for 20 minutes, 10 minutes.
Maybe
When
a
I was
little
younger.
spank when you're little.
Yeah.
But nothing as
When I was younger, it was like,
drastic
go
as
sit
that.
on the stairs because you called your sister mean or something like
Yeah,
that.
Right.
See, my parents felt like if I give you a chance to sit back and think about it, you can come and do something worse than what you did the first time.
We ain't had
So
no
they didn't give
time
us
to sit back and think.
No.
Like I said,
Nah,
there was
ain't
too
no
many
thinking.
kids in the house.
No.
Yeah, you got to get it. You gotta get it.
Yeah, ain't no
For
thinking.
me,
I
it was
feel
either clean your room or go upstairs and think about what you did.
Yeah,
which I really
same.
just stared at the wall. But
wow.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
But see, like for me, like growing up, like when you say go to your room and think about what you did, that wouldn't be.
Right.
Ain't no thinking.
Right.
I'm gonna think
No
with the
thinking.
weapon.
I was
So-
told to go out and find a switch, and if it wasn't the appropriate switch, they would get one larger, deeper, the cut when it hit
Oh,
you.
We had to do it too fast, so it was like go to the closet, grab a clothes hanger, grab a belt,
Yes.
grab a shoe, something like that. Or just come, hurry up, so I can slap you, something like that. You know, something quick. It had to be
Right.
instant. But again, I never felt abused. So for me, I think I agree with you, Olivia. That is more verbal. When you start leaving those like internal scars, those things that last, where your child now feels like I can't, like I'm really nothing. It's not discipline anymore because you're not correcting an action. It's like you're really tearing a person down.
Right.
you're making them feel like they are the problem.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing you can do to change it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think that's a good point to chill. I see you breathing, man. Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break, pay some bills, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, y'all. So we're talking about when does discipline become borderline abuse. And, during that first segment, Isaiah, you talked about some of the things you've endured, throughout your life. And I want to know, do you feel like any of that was tied to something other than what you did? Like, do you think it was based on the circumstances of the one that was handing down the discipline or abuse?
Yes, I do. I feel that there are times when my mom, she would go to work, or like if she had a bad day and I did something, she'll beat me extra because of her bad day. And I'm like, okay, you doing too much.
Right.
Because you beating me for more stuff and I just did something that was little.
And that
So-
reminds me of when I used to get my beatings, because that's what they would call beatings, not whoopings,
Yeah.
not
Oh,
none of that.
definitely.
They will always say, "This hurts me more than it's hurting you." How is that possible? So then you have to think about it. Was they really talking about what was going on inside of them? Something was going on with them that was internally hurting them, so they had to put it out.
Well, now that you're a parent, do you think that when you have to discipline your child, it's like, I don't want to do this, but I know it's necessary?
Discipline is totally different in my house.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like it is a borderline abuse. You have to talk and listen to them. Because sometimes our parents didn't listen to the circumstances behind maybe something we've done.
Right.
And now I take the opportunity to say, okay, let's have a conversation. And it's steps, levels. If I have to tell you
respect
multiple times, then it gets a little worse. But it doesn't get to the beating part.
Yeah, and I was probably, I ain't mean to jump over you, but I probably was more like I told you, I deserve every single thing I got. Every single thing, just
That's
me,
amazing.
And I think if my mom had any external motivation, it was just her seeing me as an older person. Like I would literally get whoopings for, I hate you, those kinds of things. You are not going to treat your
Wow.
family any kind of way. You want to push them because you're being mean or because you're already upset. I get dealt with about those things. I wasn't a bad kid for real, but I think my mom's external motivation was making sure I wasn't a bad adult, that I treated my family properly, that I treated people right. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
Well, I
you
know.
just- go ahead.
Well, I know for me that I was bad.
It's bad.
So did you deserve them or not, bro?
I deserve some of them. I deserve some of them. I ain't gonna lie. Because one experience I had when I was in class and my mom was standing outside the classroom and she saw me jumping all
man.
on the desk and had my t-shirt around my head, calling my teacher
Wildin'
names
out.
and stuff. I was wild now, and she came in there. I'm telling you, she got me that night, honey. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I won't do that again."
Yeah, you earned that.
Yeah, I earned
You
that.
earned that.
But it might have been a conversation that still need to have. Why were you doing that?
After I knock your head off,
Right.
Jump in there.
I don't speak from experience, but I definitely do think it ties to what the parent has going on inside their personal lives. Because humans have a habit of taking out their frustrations on other humans, and I think it's kind of like a natural instinct, but it's not.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, but it's not a good thing, obviously. But I just think it's something that humans do naturally.
Yeah,
take it out
going
on
off
each
what
other.
she said, like I obviously don't have experience with that, but I know that when my mom has like a bad day at work, she'll get like aggravated with me easier and stuff. So like then like I'll get like not in trouble, but she'll just be more upset with me than like if she was like in a good mood, and like I
Yeah.
might not like make her as upset about what I was
Yeah,
doing.
she would be a little more
Yeah.
snappy, a little
Yeah.
more quick with you. or short.
I can see that too. That's a conversation my wife and I have consciously often. You know, let's not discipline the kids emotionally. You know what I mean? You don't want to do this because I hate what you're doing more than the other thing that you did. You know, and so now it's a little more severe. But I think that's good, y'all. We're gonna take another break right there. And when we come back, we're gonna wrap this up, y'all. This is good. This is good. This is good.
Yes.
We'll be back. Last segment we talked about, I think Olivia, you hit on the fact that we need to make sure we're communicating. Tila, I believe you did as well. Talking about the difference between the way you were disciplined and the way you do your discipline. Do we think that discipline can be effective without communication?
No, that's how it leads to abuse, in my opinion. Or because you have to like communicate with your child and like tell them. Not like yell at them or like hit them, because sometimes that just makes the kid want to lash out more and rebel more, is hitting them, because that's a little too much. You have to communicate with them, really explain why what they did was wrong.
And it goes back to the line of what discipline is a corrective action.
Corrective, right?
Right?
It should be.
So you should talk about it. Because I remember a time when my youngest brother, he came home and my mom was about to tear him down. Okay? So I said, Mama, hold up. I went to the same school. I know exactly what teacher he's talking about. So no, that's not how it went. So how about you go to the school, have a conversation first? And she found out
Mama Junior
completely that, I didn't understand. So all those beatings she was getting out, she'll actually apologize, and she started doing things a little differently. So actually communication will work on both levels.
That's great.
I think that communication is one of the reasons that like I don't get in as much trouble, because I know that sometimes like my sisters will like blame stuff on me when I really didn't do it. And my mom like always listens to us, and my dad too, like, and we like tell them the story of how it happened, and sometimes like they'll see different viewpoints and stuff. So then we only get like in a certain amount of trouble depending on like how much we actually did. That way like we're not just blamed for stuff that didn't happen.
That's good. That's good.
Talk to him, Isaiah.
I know.
And you look in the camera when you talk, man. You talk to your mom, man.
Because I'm still not getting. That iron is still in my head right now.
Well, when it comes to the communication, I really didn't have that in my home, but I wish I did though, because I think certain things that I walk through now in my adult life, I wouldn't have to. And I feel like now where I'm at, I have to, try to find ways to not abuse myself.
So do you feel like you're making the same mistakes or?
Not the same mistakes, but I think from when she was kind of like just beating me or whatever like that, I think growing up, it kind of like lead over to me beating myself when I made a mistake or when I messed up or when
you were talking about.
So it's like, now I'm reteaching myself to don't do that,
Right.
Yeah, it carries on to yourself.
Yes. Because I had cousins like that. Yeah. And they will always say that, my parents told me, well, I'm beating you now, so when you go on the streets, you won't have to worry about it. What does that mean?
Yeah, so now I'm preparing to go out here and fight, or I'm expecting that life is supposed to beat me up. Yeah, that's
there's a pattern, like if you have an abusive parent, the kid is more likely to become an abusive parent to their kid. And I've seen it happen.
Sometimes, because sometimes like me, I was the opposite.
Sometimes.
I did the opposite.
Yeah,
everything that I went through that was negative, I was like, I choose not to do this to my kids.
Yeah.
Certain things, like again, like earlier I said levels of discipline. If I had to continuously tell you the same thing and I know you are doing something consciously.
The lack of parent too. Like if one parent's abusive and the other one's kind of just like doesn't do anything about it.
That's a different
story.
Now there's
I've
pressure
seen that
on one
happen.
to be that guy. Like, so now I'm the bad guy regardless, whether I'm just speaking or whether I'm putting hands on you. I'm the bad guy. That's an interesting take as well. And I'm fortunate enough to be with my wife and be able to raise my sons together. And I think that's a level of communication that has to take place as well between those that are handing down that discipline. Yeah, that's wow. And I've seen how necessary it is because my wife and I are so different. Because we're so different, because, I'll say, they're boys, they're gonna jump, they're gonna climb, just tell them to be careful. Or, because she'll say, I don't want them to get hurt.
Right.
I say, okay, but you're correcting them because of what you feel, not because what they're doing is
That
wrong. And so
emotion
we talk about it privately and try to agree on how we should go about doing it. But if not, we'll find ourselves butting heads, about how we even talk to the boys.
Right. Absolutely.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. I want to hear your final thoughts, Caitlin, before we move on.
I think that obviously I have very different experiences from you guys, and I think that communication is a big part of that, and my parents always talk to me, so that's why I'm not abused, and I don't feel abused in any way by my parents.
That's awesome.
I feel that, and I agree with Caitlin, that communication is key. I don't have kids, but I do have guy kids. And so for me, I learned to talk to them, to communicate with them. I don't beat them, but hey, I'm learning from them. So when I get a kid or something, I'm like, okay, yeah, take this action, communicate, talk with them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then I always consciously want to make sure the way you talk to your kids, because again, abuse is not always physical. It can be verbal. So sometimes you hand down abusive words and language just to keep from beating them. And so you have to decide on which factor you want to go and just communicate. Make sure you get their perspective on it as well, because you never know, they might have a bad day too.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
True.
What? And I said all that I have pretty much.
She said all she had to
said
say,
it.
and I'm gonna finish like this. I agree 1,000% that communication is the key between those handing down the discipline and between those that are giving the discipline and receiving the discipline.
Right,
we have to
absolutely.
talk, because discipline is supposed to be corrective in nature. You're not supposed to be just beating people for the sake of beating them. Talk to them. Make sure they know what's wrong. Make sure they know that it's supposed to be corrected. And make sure they know they're not a bad person. You just did something that needed to be corrected, all right? Don't abuse your kids. Discipline them.
Yes.
We good?
We
All right.
good.
All
I
right,
think it's
cool.
good.
I need to move in your house, man. I would have loved some time out.
Y'all don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And if
Yes.
you have a perspective on our subject today, please comment below.
We appreciate that. We'll see y'all on the
Take it
next one.
easy.
Happy week, good week.
Have a good one.
With no answer but plenty chances for many lessons. Am I willing to learn that it's all perception? That the picture that I paint